Okay, so good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the Uyuni Community Hours January edition. My name is Raúl. I am one of the release engineers for Uyuni. And today we have an agenda presenting the last release version of Uyuni 2024.12 that was released last month. So what is new there and what is coming next. And then we have 3 sessions from guests. First, Michael about SLES to SLES for SIP migration. Then Python API authentication using Uyuni credentials, which was actually a project from the Hack Week from Ricardo. And last but not least, Victor will be talking about Saline again, doing like a demo of adding Saline to Uyuni deployment, and also because I will mention Saline, so it is very convenient to have him here today. So without further ado, let's start with the first topic. So Uyuni 2024.12, what's new and what's next? So as you saw in the mailing list, it was released on December 19th. And the main new stuff was the new Saline container. And actually, as I just said, Victor is going to talk about Saline a little bit, so I won't get deep into this. And also the Uyuni tools, now they are available for Fedora 40 and 41. At the point of the release on December 19th, Uyuni tools were not working for Ubuntu 24.04 yet, but this was managed to be fixed. Now I don't really remember whether it was a last second thing or it was fixed the day after, but it is fixed and it should be working. So if you are able to, because you use those operating system and want to give it a go or you are able to test, all the feedback would be much appreciated. And the Uyuni tools still need, the package still needs a fix for Debian 12. You can check the release notes in the usual page of the website. And that was mostly it about the version of December. So what's next? You might have noticed that the base operating system that is recommended, and well, not recommended, the one that we test Uyuni in, that is OpenSUSE libmicro 5.5, went out of support with the end of the year. So you might be wondering what is going to happen. And yeah, either we bump the OS or there is a change of the OS. And there is going to be a discussion kickoff with the community, hopefully very soon. And there, I hope that we can agree with the next steps. There are already some ideas, but I don't want to spoil it or to say something that later we notice that doesn't make sense before starting the discussion. So we will share all the options and hear you, community members, about your opinion. So please monitor the GitHub discussions and expect a new thread to pop up there pretty soon. So the next schedule that is released for Uyuni is the one for February, so 2025-02. But as usual, anything could happen in the last minute, and that it is not the first time that something is postponed or something. So it is a rolling release, and as soon as we are able to release, we do the release, but sometimes we're simply not able to release. So that would be everything regarding the Uyuni versioning, the last and hopefully the next. Is there anything you would like to comment on this, discuss, questions? I don't see raised hands. I see a comment. Okay, nothing relevant. So maybe you can think about this a little bit, and at the end of the Uyuni community hours, there will be more time for questions, so we can come back with this if you wish to. So we can go now for the sessions from the guests. And first is Michael with SLES to SLES for SIP migration. Michael, the stage is yours.
Okay. So, hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So, yeah, as we know that a lot of you are also using our official enterprise products, there is now a new feature in. Well, it will come with the next Uyuni release, let's say it this way. And this is about SLES to SLES for SAP migration. So, and I just want to show it to you today. What do I have here? I have here Uyuni, and when I go here into the setup wizard products, of course, you get it only when you have SCC credentials. And we are looking here for SP6. I have here now mirrored SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 15 SP6 and SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP applications 15 SP6. What I have in addition, is that I have here the Uyuni client tools mirrored. And of course, also the same is available here for SAP. And I have, no, not image system, which is running SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 15 SP6, has also the Uyuni client tools channels assigned. As you can see, we have here quite some software updates. I just did not update it. So what is new now is that when you go here to software and you go to product migration, you will not only see the next version, ignore this for now because this is currently just on internal here. We have this as a SUSE employees here already inside our own internal credentials, but you will see that we have enterprise server for SAP as an option to migrate to. When we select that one, as you can see that we have also more modules enabled here in the target because we are enabling automatically all the recommended modules for SLES for SAP applications. You can see, as usual, mandatory channels are here automatically selected. As usual with Uyuni, so the Uyuni client tools needs to be added separately. And if you have a clone here already, you can also select here a different base channel clone for that one. And you can now schedule it for a point in time when you want to do the migration. So let's just try it out. So, and now in the background, the migration is running. This migration is not just a ZIPper update or a ZIPper dist upgrade. So now happens a lot of more stuff with replacing products and additionally assigning these extra channels, installing these extra products and things like that. So the whole procedure is a little bit more complex than just a service pack upgrade. So this can be compared a little bit to the Liberty migration. So I think we had a session about that one where we have a Liberate formula to migrate from Alma, Rocky, Linux, and so on to SUSE Liberty Linux. The idea behind that one is here the same, so that we have some special tasks for doing this kind of migration. This is now executed. So as you can see here, the product migration is currently running, and it will now update all the products and so on, and will also change the whole product assignments here in Uyuni. So this takes a while, and I can check for a question. So if there are already questions around that one, I have now some time to answer it.
Nothing related to SLES and SLES for SAP, at least yet.
I have a question. Can you do this migration from a different service pack to a newer service pack of SLES for SAP?
No, not in the step with SLES to SLES for SAP. So we cannot go from, let's say, SLES 15 SP4 directly to SLES for SAP 15 SP6. So this is not possible. So we are just migrating to the same service pack level. So
okay.
At
So
least
do it in two steps if you had to do that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, so as of course you saw that we had a lot of package updates, so they will be of course now also updated. Normally, when you have an up-to-date SLES, I think it might not take so long because at least the packages which are the same, and shared between SLES and SLES for SAP, will then of course not be updated. But as we have now these 126 packages, they definitely need to be updated, plus some more because we are changing now the OS. So, and that is maybe the reason why it takes so long. We have already a package list refresh here in the queue. And as you can see, the migration is already completed. The output here is not so so beautiful, but it shows you here at least a number of packages which change the versions. And now package list refresh is running, and a few. So this software updates available is not yet updated, but as you can see already, the installed products has already changed. So we have now SLES for SAP with the high availability extension, Python 3 module, desktop applications, base system module, and server applications, and the SAP applications module assigned. And yeah, and now it also says that the system is up to date, but we're requiring a reboot, which you can schedule here. And this is now how a SLES to SLES for SAP migration can be processed with Uyuni. So, chance for a final question. Otherwise, thank you, and back to Raúl.
Okay, thank you. Nothing that I
Michael.
in the chat, and very interesting, by the way. And I was part of the support team in the past, and I remember customers from the enterprise product were asking about this a lot. So I can imagine the same question from community members using SLES for SIP and having regular instances of SLES wanting to migrate those. So I am sure that this will be very much appreciated. Thanks a lot. And back to my slides. And next session is going to be from Ricardo about Python API authentication using Uyuni credentials. So Ricardo, stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, Raúl. Hope you guys can hear me well, and I will start sharing my screen.
Very well.
In a moment. You should be able to see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, first of all, thank you all for being part of this community and part of the Uyuni users. I will be presenting a project that I hacked during the Hack Week, last Hack Week. And sorry for the templating to be the SUSE one, but was the one that I was more at hand and I didn't have time to update it to Uyuni. So this is a link for the Hack Week project, and you can see more details, technical details, all the steps that were prepared during this project. So why are we talking about this, and what we are looking for on this topic? So first of all, before containerization of Uni, users have the ability, or Uni users has the ability to create extra users on the host OS and control access to the salt command using the salt ACL feature. So you can say which commands which user can execute. Since we moved to containers, it's not possible anymore to create users inside the container. And if you create users on the host OS, that will not influence the type of commands that you can run inside the container. We have an option to run this, which is the UI salt remove command. But this is not really an option, because if you have access to that page, you can run any command on the minions that you have access to. And it's really hard to announce that and limited what can be done in that area. For that, I come up with this possible approach to solve this issue. And the idea was to use or develop a new salt authentication module connected to the Uni server, where users can call the API and basically use the same username and password that they used to log in to the SUSE manager or to the Uni API or to the Uni web application. At the same time, we could generate ACL rules based on the systems that user have access to on the Uni server. But at the same time, allow the SAT admin, so the one that is a super user, super administrator of the Uni, to have wildcard access to everything. And on top of it, to not force everybody to develop our own scripts to call the API, we could use Pepper as a replacement for the salt command line tool. So now it's time for a demo. So let's see how this looks like. First of all, what we have on this server, and this server have two minions. The name is similar, so Uni minion and Uni minion 2. I have two users. One is the admin user, which is the super user for this Uni server. The second one is a user that doesn't have any roles, so it's just a fresh circulated one. On the system groups, I have one group, one of them is empty, then one is Ricardo group. And in here, we have one system that is the uniminion2.sus.lab. So, and I say that for this group of systems, Ricardo is also administrator. So this means that if I log in with user Ricardo, I should be able to see one system. Okay. I can see one system here, but this is different. Okay. Back to the admin one. Oh, and by the way, I show one thing that was wrong. The system that is in this group is the Uni minion, not the Uni 2 minion. Uni 2 minion, it's outside of this group. Okay, now let's move to the command line and show how you can use this stuff. So first, let me try to see if I can call the API. This is the admin user. This is the password that SUSE Manager server is using to call the API directly. So this is the internal stuff. It should work, I hope. Yeah. So I can see all the minions. So the target is basically all the minions. But I can also do the same curl. And now you can see the username and password, super secure. So username is admin, password is also admin. And this is the credentials used to connect to the web UI. And I can also call this. So I'm using not the file system credentials that you had in the past, but the authenticated one. And I also can call just one single machine. So I'm using the same admin user, calling directly one machine. You can also do a ping. And of course, I had to open some ports. And if I can, I can also run this from outside. It's the same, the machine, authentication, and the same user and password. So running from outside is also possible. Now with the user Ricardo, I only have access to one machine. So let me try out this one. So again, password super secure. It's the same as username. I'm trying to do a test ping for the machine that I have access to. All good. And if I try to do it for the second machine, now that the machine name now is different, it's the minion 2, I'm getting unauthorized error. And it's the same if I try to do a wildcard, because some of the machines of this wildcard I don't have access to, this user Ricardo, so I will get authorization denied. But if I put the regular expression, put this one, if I put the regular expression, which basically will just catch minions that have access to, this will work, and I can see that I can ping this one. Now, how can this work with Pepper? This is basically the same as a salt command, but running remotely. I'm using again the user admin and password admin, and I'm trying to run a test ping on the minion. I have the return for this one, and I can also run the same but with a wildcard access, and I get a return for the 2 minions on this part. For the other user, for Ricardo user, which again has a limited access to, if I run the same command Pepper, and I try to ping a machine that I have access to, all good. Otherwise, one that I don't have access, I don't get any return because I don't have access to this machine. No, this is basically running the salt commands, but through the API. And we can also use other stuff than just the minion name to filter information. If we go to the group that I was showing you before, this group ID, it's number 11. It's in the URL, but we have API calls that you can run to see this group. And I can even call, for example, pillar.items to show all the pillars on this machine. And you can see that they have a group IDs in here. So, and if I want to run this test ping to all the machines that is part of this group, I can also filter by the groups. This -i, it's to filter by the pillars. And I said the group ID is 11. And if I run this, I have the return for this machine. And now if I get back in here, and I say this machine is also part of this group, now the two machines are part of this system group, so user Ricardo should have access to it. If I run the same command, no authentication denied, okay. Something is missing here, but you get the point. Okay, pillar is still working. Okay, so far, any questions? Concerns?
Nothing that I can see in the chat.
Okay.
Maybe not just a question, but just maybe short addition that actually during the hack week we accidentally go in parallel with the Saline deployment. In the case of the authentication, I introduced the authentication to Saline as well, as originally it was not intended to be just an exporter for the metrics, but adding some extra flexibility for the on top of Salt. And this part is pushing to think me in the direction to incorporate the functionality of Pepper inside the Saline. First of all, to extend the flexibility of the ACL, as the original ACL from Salt is not really flexible enough for the customers, I think, as it's quite limited in the combination of the conditions, and maybe it makes sense to add this functionality on the level of Saline and expose Saline instead of the Salt API for the world. and control the flexibility on the level of Saline. But it's definitely not for short future, but I need more time to develop some missing features for the Saline.
Okay, sure. Okay, moving forward, if it's nothing else. So possible next steps. So one thing is basically clean the code and make it available. If you guys want to configure this. Another possibility could be integrate with, this authentication mechanism with the salt calls that are being triggered by the Uni server. So currently, when the Uni server contacts salt, it's always with the admin user. It's always with one generic user, and if a state is running on a machine, we only see as it was triggered by the admin user. Some of them make sense to be triggered by the admin user. For example, the nightly refresh of a minion status. But if a user like user Ricardo wants to schedule a software refresh, then ideally it should be called on the API using this user Ricardo. And this could be an option to improve visibility and auditing capabilities on the inner server to always trigger the action with the user that scheduled the action. Another part could be extend and define some custom target rules for each user and define for each user exactly which functions should be allowed to run directly on Salt. So currently I'm not filtering anything of this. I'm only filtering access to minions, but we could extend this to say that the user can only, for example, only run test ping and nothing else, or only running a certain defined set of functions that are allowed for this user. And one more that, and the other one could be also what Victor was mentioning, and extending Saline. It's not on slides, but it's also a great idea from Victor. And that is everything that I have to share. I think I see one raised hand.
Yeah, done.
Done.
So is there a plan to connect this with external groups or external auth like Active Directory security groups or any of that? Because something that
I think we just lost Ricardo.
Provider, like Active Directory. Okay. If that, assuming that is configured and the users can authenticate with the Uni server using their own credentials from Active Directory, then this authentication mechanism will work because we are just calling the API, the Uni server API to authenticate. So as long as it is working on the server, it doesn't matter if it's PAM authentication with Active Directory or rollout or whatever, as long as they can authenticate the API, the way this authentication extension for Salt is developed, it will work.
okay. But nothing yet on group mappings, right?
No, not in group metrics, but that is outside of the context of this authentication mechanism. That will be more on the authentication authorization side to automatically create groups and users.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Okay, I don't see any additional question. So I think we can wrap up this presentation. Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you all. Have a good time.
And I will go back to my slides. And the next session is from Victor about Saline. So adding Saline to Uni deployment, which is, as he told me, actually going to be a demo. So Victor, stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Let me share the screen. I hope You should see it right now.
Now
Yes.
we can see the login screen of our Uyuni server.
Yeah, great. And I hope the font is big enough. So
Yes, it is.
let's take a look on the deployment I currently have in my testing environment. Actually, I have only one minion registered here, and this minion is actually the monitoring server, which I set up before the demo, but I want to extend it slightly. So let's take a look on the monitoring side. What we have this list of the dashboards, pretty default ones, with the deployment of the monitoring from Uyuni, and we see the default dashboard with some of the metrics here. But one of the problems here that in case of significant workload, like particularly on this interval of time, we have no idea what this workload is related to, what was causing such workload. And in some cases, you can log into the shell of the server and notice that the salt master process is eating too much memory or too much CPU resources, but during this time you don't see any meaningful messages on the logs of Salt API or Salt Master, and have no idea what's the Salt Master is processing currently. So, and here is the solution. Actually, the project itself was started and was focused not only on the monitoring part, but monitoring here, it was a kind of additional part. And let's try to extend the functionality of the monitoring of Uyuni server. And let me switch to the shell. So we have ngr IDM Podman. Great. Sorry. Upgrade Podman, I think, yeah. So, and now we have a few more options. One of them is Saline image, Saline port, and Saline replicas. Mostly we need to specify only Saline replicas, and currently we have only option to specify 1 or 0 by default. And if we specify 1, we will deploy the Saline into the deployment of Uyuni. And let's wait until it finishes. So now we can check, and we can see that not just one container running, but one additional more Saline, server Saline. And we can check if the Saline is available for the metrics. So we can check it, and currently it has nothing on the metrics yet, but let's check on the web UI and extend the dashboards of the monitoring server. We can switch to the formulas and notice that in the list of the formulas we have 2 additional entries, and let's save them and switch to the tabs of the configuration. So by default we have 2 extra dashboards enabled, and save it. And additionally, we have the scrape configuration for Prometheus, so we are enabling it. And by default, it's using port 8216. And let's trigger the high state apply. So we need to wait for a while. Yep, it's done. And we see that some changes on the monitoring server, and we can check the dashboards right now. So we see the additionally appears one more Uyuni server with Saline. This dashboard, except the ordinary metrics from the node, also have the metrics from salt side. And to make it more informative, let me run the kind of fake workload for a while. And let's switch and take a look on the documentation. What we have this specialized guide with the salt, and we have the section with monitoring salt. This part is exactly describing the changes we introduced with the Saline container. We can take a look on some of the examples of the dashboards produced by the by Saline and Grafana in this case. So, and tricky point here that in for some of these metrics you should understand some internals of the salt master to identify the exact root cause of the issue. And finally, you will get the correlations between the high CPU or memory load with the processed events or the salt calls. We already identified some of the bottlenecks with the implementation of Saline, and we analyzed some data provided by some of the customers. Most of them are affected due to the large-scale deployments, and in large scale, it's especially tricky to identify the root cause just because the salt event bus is quite huge in the amount of data and the different types of data. And besides of the the salt events, Saline also provides the metrics for the state applied process in case of multiple targets, etc. So you can identify the problematic parts of these states as well. It can show the states which can take quite significant time and finally be successful or failed. And if you see the some inappropriate amount of time spent on the some parts of the state before fail, so it could be a good sign to take a glance on this part and analyze what's going on there. And as I mentioned, it also can expose the internal master stats. It represents the internal calls of the salt master. On this chart, you can see the average duration of the calls and can identify the most problematic ones. On this particular one, the most problematic is the pillar call, which takes actually 4 seconds for each call. It was captured with one of the customers, and I hope you will never see this on your deployments. And let's take a look what we have on the charts right now. Actually, it started to do something. This workload, which I ran before, takes some time to spin up as it reads quite significant amount of the pre-generated minion keys. Let's take a look. Now we have the almost 100 CPU usage, and probably we'll notice what is the salt master workers are doing. So they are actually processing the salt authentications in this case. You can see the quite significant growth of the minions activity and the authentication activity. And tricky point here that this process is not that visible on the logs, and even can be more invisible if you turn off the auth events to be published. One of the solutions I'm going to implement in close future is to add these authentication calls instead of the events to the salt calls, as the salt call is present there but not published. So in this list will appear the extra auth call to make it possible to align the workload of the server with the amount of the events the salt master is processing. And I think that it from my side. Any questions, additions?
Okay, nothing that I can see in the chat so far, but it looks really, really interesting. And yeah, I can see customers, or in this case, community users, very happy about the added feature.
And one of the tricks that with this feature, actually, I already found a couple of issues which was not really noticeable with no any monitoring. And one of them I found today during the preparation for this demo.
Nice. So, any question for Victor about Saline? Okay. Thumbs up. And I guess maybe the community users need some time to use it, and questions will arise then. So with that, it is time for general Q&A, and actually there was something from Don before, and that was for me, but well, maybe for the community. What operating system besides the default, that is libmicro 5.5, are people using for Uyuni container host? Mine is running on lib 15.6. So as you see, it is a container, and it should be able to run anywhere, but we haven't tested it. And well, I remember a member from the community, I'm not sure who that was trying to build Uyuni for Red Hat clone. I don't remember which one. That was sorry?
It was Stefan Blum building it.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure whether it was Stefan or not. And actually, I guess he gave up because now it is a container, and maybe he was trying the container on this Red Hat clone, Alma Linux, I think it was, or whatever it was. But he's not here today, so I cannot really tell. And I haven't seen anything in the issues about anyone using anything different. Is anyone from here in the meeting that is using Uyuni on a different container host? Or maybe anyone from the developers knows about, or I don't know if this can be fetched from the stats, from any stats or anything. Okay, it doesn't look like.
I built one when I had to do a demo for an Uyuni presentation on Rocky Linux 9 in the Amazon cloud, and it actually was very easy to set up and worked very well. It has SE Linux, so all the scripts like the storage script and everything worked as expected. So I was just curious to see if anybody was trying the other operating systems, because we do build the tools like you said.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe we can ask Stefan and see what he's doing right now. Very interesting and very good news that it is working as we suppose it was working, but if nobody tests it, it's difficult to know for sure. So, any further question, anything else that you want to bring up? Okay, it doesn't look like. So in that case, I think we can wrap up early today and have a shorter community hours session. Next one will be at the end of next month. And as I said in my presentation, watch the GitHub discussions and expect a new important topic there. And yeah, don't be shy and share your opinion as soon as possible. Whenever we start the discussion, we will give, of course, a reasonable amount of time for the community to react. And if somebody forgot about what this was, it was about choosing the base OS for the Uyuni container host. It doesn't mean that it won't run on a different thing. It means that we are going to test on that container host mostly. So that's it. Thanks a lot for attending, and see you hopefully next month. I'm going to stop the recording.